Hello and welcome to the THD exclusive interview that comes to you every week on your online TV, your baby online TV. Like we always said, this is a platform that looks at the life of Gambians who has contributed tremendously in the welfare of Gambians in this country. And today I can say we are glad and humbled to be in an office that has had a lot of value in terms of promoting people with a disability. No other than your Lordship, the Lord Mayor of KMC, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, is our guest this week. Lord Mayor, thank you so very much. Despite this short notice, here we are today. You have granted us this opportunity, and we thank you very well for giving us this. And it's a pleasure meeting you, sir. And the first question, and we go straight to it. Since your election in 2018, and you've been considered in the welfare of people with disability. Was it part of your manifesto, or did you pick it up along the way?
Thank you so much, and appreciate your coming here. We always appreciate people who are differently able. I consider them abled in a different way. It's definitely, they are also one of the most upstanding citizens in our municipality and also in the Gambia. No, I did not have people of differently able in my manifesto. It was based on my house-to-house campaign. I stumbled upon a group at the Serakunda West Park who are people of differently able. And during my conversation with them, I learned a lot about the hurdles they were encountering in the Gambia, from public transport to accessibility of buildings to medical attention. And I realized that our society was not in any way or shape structured, or there was no investment in that area to support such people. And some of the interventions we were hearing were so emotional. I mean, there was a lot of people who came to tears, even myself, just knowing for the first time what people of that nature are encountering. And we know that these are people that can be members of our family. And even us, we never know when we will encounter a condition or an accident, God forbid, and we find ourselves in that situation. So this is the reason I started considering them heavily in my administration. And one thing I said to them is, I cannot promise the world to you. I cannot promise that I can change the situation of the municipality or the country to accommodate you. But one thing I can promise is you will have representation in my council. And that was one of my first acts as mayor, was to bring about the first ever nominated councillor representing the differently able.
Yes, and we'll come to that position itself, yes, who is our colleague Modu Bahum.
Yes.
I was fortunate to be in that meeting during your campaign at the Serakunda West Park, yes, where you met some of us there, yes, and discussed about our challenges on a daily basis. At some point I saw you crying, and there were many things that were discussed there. What moved you?
Well, just is humanity. I mean, these are people we see on a daily basis, and we take for granted what the challenges they encounter. But when we heard it from the horse's mouth about even being left behind by taxis because they were wasting their time, not having accessibility because of lack of basic infrastructure in buildings, no sidewalks or roads where they could easily move about. Just the way they were just blatantly discriminated against, even when it came to employment. And then for somebody who lived in the West, and I realized that people who are differently able in the West function because they've been accommodated in the infrastructure development, they've been accommodated for in the job space, they've been given special medical attention, to the point that some of them don't even feel that they're differently able. They feel like they are part of society. So it was moving, it was touching, and I realized that this was also an important section of our population that needed the attention of leaders. And the basic realization that a lot of them were able-bodied ones, and because of unfortunate circumstances, they became the way they were, and it could happen to any of us. Some of them were unfortunately born that way. You could also, being a family man, I could also have a child who is born that way. So all these things, I think, moved us, and it brought us to tears, really. Yeah.
Do you have any close relative with sort of disability? If yes, what did that teach you?
I do, and I think most people do. It teaches us that they are normal human beings. They have desires like us. They have a future like us. They have plans, and they want some of the basic things every person wants. They want to have a family. They want to have a stable job. They want to have a home. They want to have happiness. And it really teaches you that they also do have challenges that the average person does not have. At the same time, they also have talents that some of us able-bodied don't even have. Because what happens when you are differently able is, because you use different types of senses more to be independent, they tend to be more sharp, and you tend to have capabilities that even the average person does not have. So you tend to appreciate them more and want to make them feel more comfortable in society. Yeah.
The disability bill has been adopted
Yes.
since July 6, 2021.
Yes.
How is KMC planning to implement the bill?
There's representation here in KMC. Every issue that comes up, the person representing the people differently able does argue, he does intervene, and does want to see people who are differently able catered for. So I'm sure during our 2023 budgeting session, we will see him, just like every other budgeting session, advocate that policies are put in place, that budgets are put in place to adhere to the Disability Bill 2021.
You know that KMC has the largest number
Yes.
of people with determination among all the regions.
Yes.
What is the relationship of KMC and the differently challenged?
I think it's very good. We've had several visits from different sections or factions of the differently able. I think there was the Albinos Association, there was the Paralympics, the federation itself, and smaller organizations. And we have actually catered office space for some of them at our Carnifing Estate Community Center.
Yeah.
I think they are still housed there, unless they are moved because it's for temporary renovation. But I do understand they were there the last time I checked. So I think the relationship is good. We also ensure that through the councillor there's consistent engagement to ensure that they are not left behind. So I think KMC, I think we are ahead of the curve. Also housing the most number. I think KMC generally houses the most number of everything because we are the biggest municipality.
What has been the KMC's contribution that you know for people with disability?
I do know every year, for the first time, we have a disability budget. For the first time. The councillor does argue for it. If I am not mistaken, I think every year we cater up to $1 million or about 500,000, something like that, to support their initiatives and activities. And I think one of the things we fund the most is their ability to travel and join conferences and to attend international conferences that has to do with their associations or their federations, etc. So I do know this is a consistent thing we do on a yearly basis since we've had this councillor.
Well, now we're going to talk about the representative, who is Modu Bahom, our colleague.
Yes.
And like you said earlier, you promised that whatever the case is, we're going to have, a voice in your council if you're elected. And that eventually happened immediately when you were elected as Lord Mayor of KMC. And Modu Bahom has been brought in.
Yes.
What has been his input in your council?
Modu Bahom is gifted in the sense that he is one of the most articulate councillors in all three languages that I've had him speak, that is English, Mandinka, and Wolof. He is very articulate, he's very fierce, very aggressive in terms of pushing the agenda of the people who are differently able. He fights for the budget. Every time plans are brought up, the first question he will ask, have you catered for people who are differently able, like our library? When we were building our library, he asked, how about access? And one of his biggest arguments why he doesn't like our town hall is, but there's no elevator. How about people who are differently able, people on a wheelchair? Where's the wheelchair accessibility? So I think Bahum has been a very good member of council and an outstanding representative of the people of differently able. Recently, we were engaging on how to start urban transport, and we were bringing about a bus service. And he stood up and he said he wants buses with ramp capability.
Yes.
So people with wheelchairs can get on the bus. And because of that, we had changed some of the models of the bus to have this capability. So I think for these reasons, he's done justice to the people of differently able.
And you also promised this position. What has been the impact of the position itself in your council, led by you?
I think it's brought awareness to the councillors, it's brought awareness to our communities, because courtesy of him being a councillor also, he does represent us on platforms. He did just recently come from Kisumu in Kenya to represent the council there. So wherever he stands, he advocates of people who are differently able. And I think because of his knowledge also, as part of being a executive director at the Federation, he's well equipped with all the issues surrounding people who are differently able. So for those reasons, I think he's had a lot of impact for us. Yeah.
Is it going to be a part of the council, or is it going to be only in the tenure of Ahmed Talib Bensouda?
Well, I do hope I have set the precedence, and it is something that continues, whoever comes. That's why I did bring it. I think now it will be very difficult for a new mayor to not cater for the people who are differently able. And may I add, we have even employed people who are differently able. We have a cashier who is differently able. We have another one in community service. So even in our employment now, we are considering those applicants. Yeah.
Let's talk about the structural, and what kind of structural changes should people with disability expect? You just talk about the library.
Yes.
Accessibility to the library.
Yes.
But again, there are roads under construction
Yes.
in KMC region, and that some of them have this lot of concrete that persons with disability can't get access to.
Yes.
Are you considering that for the future?
Yes, we are considering that. And one thing I've realized with road construction that I would like to bring up with the NRA is the sidewalks don't have ramp access, both for people on wheelchairs and on bicycles. Usually when you see the sidewalks, they're elevated, but where the crossings are happening, there's no ramp access. And when you go to the Western Wall, you see that. You see that there's ramp access on the sidewalk for both wheelchairs and bicycles and other people. So I think that's something that we would like to bring up with the NRA. Next year, KMC is looking at ramping up our investment in road infrastructure, and I will make sure, I would say, that it is something that is catered for.
Now, you've met a lot of disabled people here in your region, and some of them have expressed, their delight of the kind of workshops, symposium that they have in your council, organized by your council.
Yes.
That is also something that is improving the life of people with disability. And do you intend to continue that as part of the plans as well?
Of course, we don't only intend to continue that, we intend to expand it. We intend to bring more programs and even look for grants to support people of differently able. And we hope that in the years to come, for our sports mayoral trophy, we will have some sort of Paralympics to encourage sport among this cohort. We are also building several parks. Right now we are investing in 7 parks that are sponsored by the KTEP project, sponsored by the EU. We are also building 2 parks in partnership with both QCell and AfriCell. And we would like to see people who are differently able can go and do exercise, because these are all public parks that are free and they're in strategic areas.
You are listening to Tales of Ajidrame online TV. Like I said today, we have met the Lord Mayor of KMC, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, a good supporter to people with disability. And we have just a few questions before the end of the program. But don't forget to click that button, which is to subscribe, follow our videos, send us your comments, how do you feel about them. Lord Mayor, we are just coming to the end of the interview.
Yeah.
There is something that I will never let you go without asking. As a young politician, we have seen people with disability getting into politics. Like today we see Bahum in your council with a physically challenged, but having a big impact in your council.
Yes.
What will you encourage, or do you believe people with disability have a huge responsibility to play in our communities?
I think they have a huge responsibility, and I think a lot of them are in touch with grassroots. A lot of them, having faced challenges all their lives, also have humility and sympathy to people who are also struggling in other ways, like people who have low income and are struggling. So people with disability know what struggle is like. And to be a good politician, you have to be in touch with the poorest and the most vulnerable. And I think this gives them a very powerful tool to be in contact with these people and ensure that government resources also are focused to the most vulnerable. And I think for this, it can make them very powerful politicians. Like I said, Bahum is very knowledgeable. He's somebody who's very articulate and very resilient. And I think this is also true for most people who are differently able. You have to be resilient to have such a challenge and carry it on with life. And that's the resiliency one needs and wants to see in politics. So we would like to see more of them put their hats forward for elected office and leadership roles in our communities.
What do you think local government areas can learn from the KMC in terms of improving or empowering the people with determination?
Yeah, so I think KMC is the first to do it. I think KMC even did that before government. I think when we did it, that's when government or the parliament, the president selected a nominated councillor of differently able. We consider ourselves trendsetters. We like to think beyond the curve, and we like to think that we are the first to do innovative things and things that have impact on the society. So we would like to encourage our partners and our colleague councils to follow suit. I think they will not regret it. I think it's not only about equity in representation, but it's also getting very talented people into your council to help you grow. So we would like to encourage it.
Finally, let's talk a little bit about sports. You just mentioned, by the way, congratulations.
Yeah.
One of your staff was part of the relay
Ola,
team,
yeah.
Ola Buaro,
Yeah, he's a
won the gold
municipal
medal,
police,
and
yeah.
it was amazing.
Yes.
Everybody was talking about
Absolutely.
that speed, that she connected with the fellow colleagues.
Absolutely.
Your connection with sport, is something that is also known by to many Gambians.
Yeah.
And KMC has the different components of sporting units.
Yes.
Any idea, any plans again, to include people with challenges?
Well, the sport we have coming up is the Mayor's Trophy for wrestling. So I've not heard of any wrestler in that group, but if there is a wrestler, we would like to have them on board. So it will be in the buffer zone. It's going to be a wrestling tournament to support the culture and also the sport of wrestling, because they also feel that wrestling has a big fan base now in the Gambia, but it's quite neglected when it comes to support. We know Gambians, we focus a lot on football. So like I said, KMC likes to do things differently. We like to also shed light on important issues, and we think wrestling is an important issue. So that would be in October, and we would like to encourage any member of the differently able community who's interested in this sport or is a wrestler to join. I did see, I think, a wrestler abroad who was differently able. Yes, and was yes, in the Western corner, was very good. So these are things that we would like to see. Yeah.
Finally, where will you want to see your sport department going to in the future? Because we have seen KMC have now competing in other sister forces like police. They have many athletes, top athletes in the country.
Yes, yes. KMC actually has one of the best football teams also. We do play, and I think we did win the last NISA tournament, if I am correct. Yeah. Yes, we won that tournament. So we definitely like to encourage sport within our staff, within our communities. I think some of the best footballers, football teams, sports people are all from KMC. So we would like to invest further in sports. We have several mini stadiums. We are about to even launch the first fully developed mini stadium very soon. So all of these things will be coming soon in KMC. Yeah.
Lord Mayor, thank you so very much.
Thank you so
for
much.
giving us this opportunity
Appreciate
to talk to you.
it, appreciate
and
it.
we hope this is not going to be the last time we come.
It will not.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
sir.
so much, Dran.
Well, viewers, is the Lord Mayor of Kanifing Municipality, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, talking to THD Online TV. Like I said, this is our first encounter, but you know, with his connection with people with determination, we'll always be talking to him as to how we move forward in terms of inclusive with people with challenges. So this is what we have for you today. Join us next week with another episode. Until I come your way, I've been your host, presenter, Haji Drame. Thank you so very much.